hotshots, just with Emotional Fire Academy, here today to talk about, can a highly sensitive person love? Can they really love? That is an excellent question. I am here to answer it today. My name is Jess. Welcome to Emotional Fire Academy. Subscribe if you are a highly sensitive person who is ready to evolve this year, up level, maximize your sensitivity, break through your sensitivity, leave it behind, become a totally different person. That's the things I talk about here. Welcome. I'm a master NLP practitioner and former firefighter. You're in good company. So I'm glad you're here. This is a very interesting question out there in Google land. People are looking for this. So we're going to go deep into this. And just as a brief announcement, I have a brand new course coming up, the Emotional Extinguisher, How to Blast Away Negative Emotion. And some of the principles that are presented today are going to be in the course in a much, much deeper level, and so that you can examine yourself and really dive into emotional mastery and have some practical tools to use on a daily basis to master your emotions. So that course is coming out soon. Stay tuned for that. Today we're going to get a little teaser through the filter of love. And when I speak about love, I'm speaking about romantic love because that is just what comes up for me when I hear the word love. But it can translate to whatever love you're talking about. So when we talk about love, of course, let me answer the question first and foremost. Can a highly sensitive person love? Of course they can. Of course they can love. Can they really love? Of course they can really love. This is one of those questions where it's like, duh. The first answer is like, well, duh, yeah. But then, when we zoom out, and this is really for everyone, not just HSPs, because when we zoom out and look at what love is, what is love? What is love to you? What is love to me? What is love as a dynamic between two people and what's actually happening? It's helpful to look at what is actually behaviorally happening in the relationship and the perception of the person who is experiencing love, because love obviously is different. No one really taught us how to love. It's something that and they can describe it to us. They can give us analogies. We can watch other people in love. But really the sensation of it, the feeling, the thoughts that are associated, this is all crafted by us, whether we intentionally crafted it or unintentionally crafted it. Most of the time we unintentionally crafted it, right? We watched movies as a kid about romantic love. We saw this stuff modeled for us, and we took bits and pieces and hobbled it together to make our experience of love. So when we're kind of looking at these bigger patterns, I think it's important to just be aware of them, right? This awareness that we have of these larger patterns helps us to distinguish where we are in love, what's our intention, where's the power, and can we love in a better way? Finding a more balance in love, because love is about balance, as with everything in life. And so this is the awareness I'm hoping to bring to you today about, your love, romantic and love relationships, what's happening. And I wish I would have had this information years ago, because I think it would have saved me a ton of time. So, because I used to think love was emotional caregiving, and we're going to talk about that more at the end. But the other person was supposed to hold me when I was sad and crying, cheer me up, talk me down when I was angry. Essentially I saw that person like that's love, like that was love, because that in my experience as a child, that to me was what I was like, okay, that's what love is taking care of somebody else when they're not feeling great. And so that's what I expected. And unfortunately, that created a lot of dynamics for me. And I've talked about this in other videos, where I was in an 8-year relationship that could, by all labels, toxic. And so as I kind of grew out of that and matured, I realized that I was using love to heal my wounds, right? I was looking to love, the experience of love, being in love, being with someone I loved, to heal the things that were missing in me. And that put a lot of pressure on the other person and put me in situations where I then became dependent on them for that love, because I'm like, I have a wound, I need this salve of love. And so we're going to look at like, where is the source? When we look at love, if we can kind of float above ourselves a little bit and examine our own behaviors and our perception. So we are, us as the individual experiencing love is the solid person there. And so when we're experiencing love in different ways, we're going to talk about these different perspectives. So going from out to in, this is the first perspective I want to talk about, because this was where I started when I was referencing that relationship. My focus is locked on the other person. I am told all of my attention is on the other person. All of my, meaning is on the other person and what they're doing. And so the flow then is what they're doing and it's coming to me. What they're doing and it's coming to me. This kind of out to in flow. So in a positive way, when there's a positive tone to that, it's kind of obsession, idealizing someone, idolizing them, that passionate kind of, I can't live without you. This was my first experience of love as a 13-year-old, was that I got a hit of that obsessive love, where all I did was think about this guy. All I did. And it was like a drug. This feels like a drug. It's the high of the drug, that dopaminergic rush. And I'm not saying you can't have this in love. I'm just saying if that's your primary focus, if that's your primary perception, it's going to feel very obsessive. It's going to feel very like, I can't live without this person. When I'm not with you, I'm dying inside. That is very, that needing, that pulling. It's a pulling, it's that, like when you're around me, I'm finally okay. When you're not, I'm desperately needing you. That kind of love. Again, it's these are kind of a little bit unbalanced. It feels a little bit unbalanced. It feels a little bit like, I need you. I can't live without you. And that's where we lose ourselves sometimes, in that obsessive love, that addictive love. And when you get addicted to a person, this is what happened to me. I became addicted to him to make me feel better, to make me feel okay, to, that kind of clinging. That created a lot of tumultuousness for me, a lot of toxicity, a lot of codependency. In the negative sense, and then, it can easily flip to, in the negative sense, victimhood, right? As a negative tone, that out to in, you feel victimized because when they go away, they suddenly break up with you, they do something you don't like. That out to in energy makes you feel very victimized. You blame them. You're like, you did that. I can't believe you did that. I'm so hurt. I'm so devastated. And you feel like a victim. You play the victim role, right? And that's a crappy feeling too. And immediately when your partner does something, you're blaming them. You shouldn't do that. It's all your fault. And that is controlling your emotions. That is what is dictating your emotions when the flow is in that way. When the perception of the source of love flows in that way, it often feels victimizing. So let's look at, what are we aiming for really in love? We're aiming for more of in to out instead. We're reversing the flow. And really this is kind of an illusion. We think that, what they're doing is affecting us. And I'm not saying that, it isn't to a small degree, but really what is actually happening is it is something within ourselves that is getting triggered by their behavior, by their words, by their actions. And so really it's an in to out flow. And when we're making an intention to flow in to out, it's me to outward, me to out. They are my reflection. Not I am reflecting them. I am reflecting them. I am their, they are my reflection. We have to keep the flow, awareness of what the flow is. The negative connotation of that is kind of feeling guilt and shame, the bad guy archetype. So when there's a negative tone to this, we're feeling guilty about something, we're feeling shameful. Sometimes when I was thinking about this happens when we're self-sabotaging, right? Because maybe this person is treating us really well, or we don't feel great about ourselves. Our self-worth is really low, and so that kind of often manifests as cheating, sabotaging the relationship. Doing things where we're putting ourselves in the position, we're playing this archetype of the bad guy because we don't believe that we're worthy, right? And we're only really going to accept and receive the amount of love that we feel we're worthy of. So if we get too much, we get insecure, we start sabotaging. If we get too little, we get insecure, we start either trying to destroy or dismantle the relationship. And so we're comfortable wherever our love set point is. That's where we're comfortable, and we'll often do behaviors to bring that balance back into where it should be. And so where do we want to be? Where is the balanced? So we want to be, realizing that love comes from inside of us. Our love is, love is essentially complete acceptance, total unconditional acceptance. Self-love. We generate it on our own because everything is us. Everything is us, and we're emanating it out. That self-loving, I appreciate myself. I love myself. I am comfortable with me. I talk nicely to myself in my head. I do behaviors that are nice to me. And in doing that, then this is kind of the kind of love then where there's plenty left over for someone else. The idea of two whole people coming together, two whole people coming together and having a love that love is the extra, the icing on the cake, that I am intact and whole and loving and accepting who I am no matter what that other person is doing. Like, that is really the sweet spot I found for love, for romantic love. Because that kind of groundedness is consistent. We can be consistent with that. We can practice, we can reaffirm our affirmations of how we feel about ourselves. And the other person then is allowed to be themselves. They're allowed to be themselves. They don't get caught in these caretaking roles with us where we need them to be doing something for us to feel good, for us to feel good about ourselves, for us to love ourselves. We love ourselves regardless. We emanate it out, it flows out, and then they'll reflect it. So these are just some things to be aware of. And I'm not saying that, there's a little bit of all of this in, I think, every relationship. The key is to find balance. Bring yourself back to that center where you're loving yourself first. When you're upset, you comfort yourself first. When you're sad, you're angry, you have the control within yourself to deal with that. And then that takes the pressure off the other person. Because, love, as when we start to look at love, what is love? Really, what is love? I really believe it's that unconditional acceptance, right? Love is neutrality. It's neither pushing nor pulling in the power dynamics of the relationship. It's just like, I accept you how I am. I accept myself how I am. I accept me. I accept you. We are both independent entities, doing our dance. It's a dance. And this is a really great place so you don't lose yourself. So you don't become completely obsessed with this person and think that the sun comes out of there, where. And, then when it crashes, there's this huge withdrawal because it's like a drug. This balanced love that comes from loving self first, emanating out, and then maintaining that. And then maintaining that is really powerful. And I do this with my guy too, because when I stand in that, and he's having a hard time, I'm having a hard time, like, it really changes the dynamic because it then becomes, when he's going through something challenging, I can stand at this groundedness of knowing that he's capable of dealing with it. I don't have to coddle him or mom him. I don't have to put myself in a position of serving, because sometimes that's one of the things I will slip into, is this serving, this letting go of self to serve someone else, to, instead of standing in my own power of loving and knowing he's capable. And also the same when I maybe am having a hard morning, standing in my place of, I am capable of dealing with this myself. He's not the first person I go to, like, pick me up off the ground in a figurative way and lick my wounds for me. And so seeing both individuals as capable, let that sink in. Seeing yourself as capable of handling life, of dealing with your own stuff, and seeing the other person as capable. And, that really adds a lot to a relationship, because it's when we go into a romantic relationship with the expectation to have emotional caregiving, is where these power dynamics start to get out of balance, right? It gets kind of wonky. We're like, I need you to do this for me. I need you to, I'm crying, comfort me. I'm crying, comfort me. And then they become, it's okay to do that every once in a while, but when it's habitual and it's all the time, that starts to really put a lot of pressure on the other person and drain them. And then the relationship doesn't feel good because of that imbalance. Likewise, if you're the one emotionally caregiving, if you're always picking somebody up off the ground, if you're always calming them down, if you're always, that emotional caregiving starts to drain you, and you're like, I can't, this relationship. Versus the unconditional acceptance of, like, loving from a place of stability, loving from just grounding into your own self-love, seeing yourself and the other person is capable, and just meeting situations with unconditional acceptance. It's like, yeah, that's cool. Like, you can be you, I can be me, and what we do, to take care of ourselves doesn't have to, make the other person smaller, or, it contributes. When we do self-care, when each of us does self-care, it contributes to the relationship. It builds the relationship, because we're both capable, independent beings. So what do you think of this? Let me know what your experience with love has been, if this made sense. So yes, the answer is yes, a highly sensitive person can love. And I think the underlying question in there is, being an HSP does sometimes carry wound patterns. And so as long as we're not slipping into this, and this, is all about emotional mastery. This is about loving from a place of mastering your own emotions, because when we can't, we often will put ourselves intentionally in positions of looking to another person to do that for us. And so, yeah, let me know what you think. Look for that new course, because it is going to give you a great foundation to step into this kind of love, to step into the self-love that then can emanate out, that can cause you to have very stable, solid, amazing relationships. And I will be giving more information as the videos come out. That should be out in the next few weeks. So thanks for watching. Comment below. Let me know what you thought. And have a great day. Bye.